Thank you, Ms. Harlan. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty One territory, the home of traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Mr. Robert Hutchings. I'll be chairing the hearing today. I'm joined on the panel by Mr. Kent Seelan and Mr. Richard Whitbread. Our secretary today is Mrs. Harland, and our assessor representing the Assessment and Taxation Department, City of Winnipeg, is Mr. Clayton Deitchen. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property and be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony, followed by questioning again. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and it make its decisions based on the evidence presented at the hearing today. You will receive the board's decisions by registered mail as soon as possible. Today we will be hearing item number 1 and then items 4 through 8 on our docket today. Mrs. Harlan, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony. We'll be starting with item number 1. I believe the assessor, or pardon me, the applicant is present. Ms. Harlan, please go ahead.
He is. Mr. Applicant, would you please stand? Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, true.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Harlan.
Mr. Chair, I can't remember. Do I need to swear in the assessor?
Yes, please.
Mr. Assessor, do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harlan. Good afternoon, Mr. Rain. We're going to deal with item number 1 on the docket, file number 24-322. Roll number is 13-09907-1945. The address is an address on Notre Dame Avenue. It's a vacant commercial property, and we're dealing with a 2025 realty assessment appeal. Mr. Deitchen, bear with us 1 second while we pull up your docket, or pardon me, your brief. And if everybody is getting ready, please proceed.
While you're doing that, Mr. Chair, should Mr. Shalabaw Page not be put in the waiting room?
Yes, I'm
Yes,
sorry. I will put him in.
Thank you.
thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Deitchen, when you are ready, please.
File number 24-322, roll numbers 13099071945, and it is on Notre Dame Avenue. This is a 2025 roll year, assessed values at $223,000. It's a vacant commercial piece of land. It is zoned C2 and it is 4,021 square feet. Going on to page 2 is the breakdown of the valuation. So there is a detached structure of the asphalt of 6,000, and the rest is land value at 217. And that brings the rate for the land at 53.97. Continue on to the subject property photos on page 3 and page 4, along with the zoning information for the property. Page 5 is the land sale comparables. You can see they kind of range from 45 up to 89.78. I would say that the key one is, it seems a bit high, but it was just interesting at that square footage that the rate that they got for that one. It is a C1 and the property is the subject is C2. So I think I would put the most weight on the 2 on Notre Dame because the subject's on Notre Dame as well. So they're at $46 and $53. But they are much larger, so economies of scale would suggest that the subject would be slightly higher than those ones, and that is where that is at. Then continue on to page 6, all the way to page 15 is just the comparable property photos. And then the last couple pages is just the municipal assessment act excerpts. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Good afternoon, Mr. Arain. Would you have any questions of the evidence presented by the assessor so far? You will have an opportunity to print your own evidence shortly, but any questions on the evidence presented by the assessor?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Whitbread, of the assessor?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Seelan, any questions?
Yes, what are the cross streets at Notre Dame that this property is located between?
Sorry, I'd have to just double check. Yeah, the map didn't really show it very well. Sorry, bear with me 1 second.
Sure, thanks.
So it looks like it's close to Notre Dame and Flynn Street is the corner, the closest corner.
Notre Dame and Flint Street.
Flynn Street, yeah, right on that corner there, on the like left side.
Flynn,
Flynn, yeah.
thank you. Thanks so much. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Flint. Sorry, I can't.
Flint?
Flint with a T.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Seelan. Mr. Deitchen, what would be a larger street that we would be familiar with? Salter?
That is close to.
Yes.
Sorry. The other corner is Notre Dame and Weston.
Okay, Weston Road. Okay.
Yeah, Weston's down at the other end. Yeah, sorry. The map wasn't the best showing that.
Yeah, okay, so Weston Road. And are we on the north side or the south side, would you know?
I don't.
The west side of. West.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
The west side of Weston,
Yeah, sorry, west side. Yeah, sorry, yeah. West side.
West side of Notre Dame?
North of Notre Dame, west of.
by the railway track,
Okay, north
Yeah.
side.
by railway track.
Okay. My next question is, so physically, we've got two workups here. There's a sign for paving asphalt, so it's a parking lot, is that right? And you're assessing for the asphalt improvements?
Yeah, it's just for the asphalt. That's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's at $6,000. So you did a costing on that, is that right? And
Yeah,
then
that would have been done on cost. Yeah.
okay, depreciated cost, okay? And that's $6,000 of the assessment.
Mhm.
And then the land portion is 4,021 square feet. And you're using a rate of 53.97
That's correct.
per square foot, and your comparables are on page, what do we got? Page
Oh,
5.
sorry, page 5. Yeah.
Okay, and would you mind going through those quickly?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I put the most weight on the first two.
Okay,
Because they're on the same street. Just unfortunately, they are larger, like much larger than the subject.
yes,
So yeah, it was tough to find smaller ones on Notre Dame. Like I said, Keewayn's probably a bit of an outlier. I would probably not. It's much higher. Then Sherbrooke's, I guess, a bit further away.
okay.
Yeah, Comp 4 is larger again. Oh, they're both larger, but yeah. So most weight I would say is on the Notre Dame properties, 1 and 2.
And the subject is zoned,
C2.
it is the C2, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And now on page, the subject property photo is showing, I believe it appears to be, let's first of all, let's look on this, on the page 3. So the subject property seems to be an overload parking for a used car dealership. Would that be accurate?
I believe that's what it is. Yeah. I can't speak for sure on that though.
Yeah, but it's on its own roll number, okay. And yeah, okay, there's page 3 on the bottom that there's some used cars parked there. Okay. And then on page 4, we've got the office of the car dealership. And is the subject property to the right of the business office or to the left?
I believe it's to the left. To the left. In between the two buildings essentially.
Okay. Okay. I see. Okay, so we've got,
Yeah, it's that fenced in area from what I could tell.
okay, I guess we can confirm with the owner, but,
Yeah.
or the, pardon me, okay. All right. And the total assessed value is
223,000.
6,000 for depreciated costing on the pavement and land value of 217 for a total of 223. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. To the applicant, we're gonna find your brief before we proceed, please.
Never received one.
Yeah, I don't have a brief for the applicant.
Gonna make a verbal presentation, is that correct? Mr. Arain?
Yes,
Okay,
I like to,
okay, would you mind going slowly so that we can take some notes and then then the assessor will question you possibly, and then the panel possibly will question you on also, okay?
okay.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Your Honor, this lot I bought 2096 for $25,000. It was a little old, small house, little house, on Notre Dame, some houses. Then
Okay.
we changed the zoning in about 25 years ago. Then I did fence and asphalt on both those lots, 1395 and 99. This address actually used to be 1399, which we're talking about roll number. And this is it's not a shop. I haven't done anything to that since last 20 years to this lot. Asphalt and fence was done like 25 years ago. When we changed the zoning. And I think it was 2006 or 5. So after that, I haven't done anything, and they appraised this property in 2022, 112,500, 2023, 174, 2025. Then now they want to increase 223. Actually, these are lots in Notre Dame Western area. Residential lots are going 60 to $80,000 in Western area, residential lots. But this is a commercial asphalt. I park like 10 cars only there. And
Okay.
I'm getting rent there $500, $600, and I'm paying like $1,000 tax on it. And this is very unfair because it's property. I have same lot, exactly same residential to the east side. Is a valued. How much is this? 80. 80,000 something. The lot on east side is about $80,000. I don't know why I found a gold mine in this lot or what happened. Every year going 80,000 up. It's a little small house shack I demolished. I make it look nice, very beautiful. You can walk there, you know. They are comparing with big these shops, big like the auto dealerships and repair shops. But this is nothing. It's a little small office. I came here 2 weeks ago for that hearing too. We reduced the price 40,000, and this one is totally double price. It should be 100. That my other lot is a residential is 80,000. This should be maybe 100,000 or 110,000, 30,000 more, 20,000. That's I think is reasonable. It's not even for difference. There's nothing. Other lot is empty. This lot is empty. I'm not doing anything there.
Okay, for the record, could you please state what you would want the assessment to be revised to?
What I think is value?
Yes, that's correct.
I think is worth, but residential is 80,000. This should be 100,000 to 110,000.
Okay,
That's my opinion. Because in that area, western area, the residential lots are going for 60 to 80,000 dollars, even 30, 40,000, 40 by 80 or 100. And this is a commercial, so it should be 20,000 more. I'm just parking 5 to 10 cars there.
okay,
That's all I'm doing there.
all right. I think we've got an understanding of where you're coming from on this. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Whitbread, any questions of the applicant?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan, any questions of the applicant?
Yes, when did you say you bought the property?
When I bought,
Yes,
I bought in 2006.
2006?
I think so, 2006. Yeah,
Is
but
that-
we changed the zoning about both houses, 2000, after 5-6 years, almost 20 years. I did asphalt and fence. After that, I haven't spent any $1 on that. If city wants to buy, I'll sell for 200,000, 150, even 125. I'm losing money there.
So did you put the asphalt and the fencing in 2006 as well?
Yes,
Thank
20
you.
years ago.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, this is very totally unfair. I never seen like this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seelan.
Thank you. Oh.
Okay, to the applicant, Mr. Arain. So this lot is zoned commercial too, is that right?
C2 commercial 44 by 91, just fenced asphalt did 20 years ago. I haven't done anything last 20 years there.
Now, I think you said that you bought it as there was a house on it, you
Yeah,
demolished
it was 2 houses.
2 houses.
Yeah, there's 3 property we own this.
Now, when you purchased it, was it also commercial too?
No, we change the commercial here, city hall.
Oh, so you asked for a variant to convert it?
Variants, so we put in a sun paper, free press 20 years ago.
Okay, so you got a variant to
To
change
bylaw.
it to
See
commercial.
the next door is my office, is the office, their shop, there's a same lot, that's value 108,000. I don't know this vacant lot, why they put so much high value. Double, triple.
First of all, as I stated in the preliminary information at the board, we're not gonna compare assessments. We're looking for market evidence of commercially zoned, commercial two zone property to come up with a value here. And that's what the assessor has presented. He's presented C2 and C1 commercial zoned properties. And you also made reference to a residential property on the other side, but again, that's zoned differently.
Yeah, that's I agree, it should be more 20, 30,000, park 10 cars, it's not a big lot or shop, anything there.
So from your presentation, you haven't presented any evidence of commercial zone property that's sold in the area?
Oh,
Is that-
40 square feet lot for sale there, commercial. Are sold, I haven't seen, I checked it.
Okay. And this, just to confirm, this is used as a part of your used car dealership?
I parking lot, yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay,
Park,
yeah, okay.
and we can park 10 cars there.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's my only questions.
Tax, and your tax is 5,000 a year, 4,000.
Okay,
I'm getting $500, like 1,000 rent, paying the city 400-500 like a property tax, then I'm paying for insurance, $300. I end up with 200 a month, not worth even for me.
okay.
Thank
Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for a summary?
No, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rain, I think we've got a clear picture of what the value you think it should be. Any requirement to add anything different?
I don't think the maximum value of this lot is 120 or 125, the most. Otherwise it should be 90 to 110. That's my,
Okay. Okay. All right, well, we understand your position here, we understand the assessor's position. And we will consider all the evidence provided by both parties, and you'll hear from us as soon as possible, okay?
okay, thank you.
Thank you for appearing. That concludes item number 1, file number 24-322. You can leave now, sir, if you wish. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you, sir. Okay, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Mrs. Harland, I guess we're gonna get our appellant for item number 4 through 8.
All right, we'll let him in now.
Okay, and if you could swear him in, please.
Yes, I will.
Hello,
Mr. Charlebois Page, I'll swear you in now. Would you please state your full name?
my name is Stephen Charlebois Page.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harland. Good afternoon, Mr. Charlebois Page. The next item on the docket is item number 4. File number 24-2100, roll number 14022473,000. And it's a vacant commercial property. And we're dealing with a 2025 realty assessment appeal. Mr. Deitchen, does everybody have the Mr. Deitchen's brief up?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Charlebois Page, you have it up?
Yep, ready to go.
All right, perfect. Mr. Deitchen, when you're ready, please.
Okay, file number 24-2100. Roll numbers 14022473000. There isn't an address on for this one, but it's on Burrows, I believe. Reference or roll years 2025, reference dates April 1st, 2023. Assessed value is $55,000. It's vacant commercial. It's C2 zoned. The land area is 2463. I actually have a recommendation for this one. I didn't put in my brief, but I have a recommendation at $18.96 a square foot. That brings the value to 46,698, rounded to 47,000.
Would you mind repeating that? We've got 2,460 square feet currently assessed at 2233 a square foot, and you're recommending revising that net rate per square foot down to
1896.
1896. Okay. Equals a revised assessment recommendation of
46,698, rounded to 47,000.
47,000. Okay. Thank you. Would you mind going through your reasoning for that, including the evidence, the sales comparison?
Yeah, on page 5 is the comparables. So looking at, again, the Q8 one's kind of a bit of an outlier, so I didn't use that one. Using the comparables 1, 2, 4, and 5, I felt like it was in that range for those ones, and I thought 1896 was fair.
Okay. Mr. Charlebois Page, I'm not sure if you were aware of that recommendation. Have you got any comments on accepting or not accepting?
I was not aware, and I can't accept on behalf of the owner at this time. Coming in, I had no knowledge of it, but yeah.
Okay. All right, then we shall proceed. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll continue on. I guess we'll go back to page 2 just to see the breakdown of the land valuation. So it's 2,463 square feet at 2233, brings the value to $55,000. Page 3 and 4 are just the pictures of the subject with the zoning at the bottom of page 4. Page 5 again is the land sale comparables. Again, I would just not put too much weight on the Q8 one, but the rest 1, 2, 4, 5, I would say are very accurate comparables of the property, especially with the size of them. Especially on the Magnus one, it's almost the same size of the subject at 2,400 square feet. So I think, again, at the valuation we have, we're pretty good. So page 6 and forward are just the land sale comparable photos, with page 11 and 12 being the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts and as evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charlebois Page, any questions on the assessor's evidence presented?
Sure. Maybe I'll just start. I guess Clayton, you kind of got into it, but comparable 3, I said it appears to be an outlier. And I guess you've already kind of stated you agree with that. I just get your opinion on that. Do you agree that comparable 3 there on Q8 appears to be an outlier from the rest of the data set?
I mean, it's definitely higher than the rest. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't put too much weight on that one.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Are you aware that the owner of this parcel owns the property to the north, 780 Burrows?
I did not know.
Okay. So I think the signage there on the site, let me just see. kind of confirms that it's parking for that. But that's the end of my questions.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Seelan, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread, any questions of the assessor?
No, I have none, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, are we on the corner of Arlington Street or I'm just looking at
Yeah, Arlington and Burroughs, almost all right on the corner.
okay, is this the second lot in?
Yeah, yeah,
So the first lot looks like the one on the corner of Arlington is a structure with two cars parked. So the
Yeah.
subject is one with more vehicles parked, right?
yeah, yep.
Okay. And it is zone C2, is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. And you revised it by about $4.50 a square foot, just based on the comparables?
Yeah,
Okay,
but yeah, okay.
all right. That's my only question. Mr. Charlebois Page, bear with us while we pull up your brief, please. Okay. All right. When you're ready for, please, Mr. Charlebois Page.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the subject property is a vacant commercial lot, site area 2,463 square feet, zone C2 commercial. It's outdoor storage and spillover parking for that neighboring site there. I think at 780 Burroughs is the corner lot. That corner lot's valued on the income approach. So the current assessment is 55,000 in the commercial classification. And to jump into my value, I've set the cost approach and the income approach aside and prepared a sales comparison approach, as that's how it would transact. On page 11 of my brief, my sales comparisons are there. I've chosen comparable sales of vacant commercial lots with small frontage. Tried to prioritize, rectangular shaped lots like the subject property, limited utility, as they provide the best comparison to the subject property. A street view of this property will show you that it shares access with 780 Burroughs, the neighboring property. And a theme I think that I'll continue with on this docket might be that once economies of scales that has been discussed, it's one of those ones that where a lot this small with this small of frontage just has limitations to what can be done with the site. Even if it was sold separate to 780 Burroughs, access would have to be put in, and what you could do with that site would be quite limited. So consideration was given to other sites that have similar limitations. There's a bunch of the properties there on Selkirk, the one on Mackenzie. The size of those comparables given range from 2,500 to about 3,733. The median of that data set was $14 square foot. And that's what I've used in my reconciliation of value. So at the bottom of page 11, you'll see 2,463 multiplied by the proposed revised rate of $14 a square foot for 34,489. And that's rounded downward to my reconciliation of value at 34,000, which concludes my evidence.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant's evidence?
Just a couple. On page 11, looking at your comparables, are you aware that comparable two sold again in August 2021 for $50,000?
I was not.
Are you aware that comparable three was a city tax sale?
I was not.
Are you aware that comparable 4 and 5 were also sold from the city?
Nope, I was not aware that they were the vendor. And sorry, could I just clarify with you, Clayton? So you said 284 Selkirk sold again in 2021 for, what was the number? Was it 50,000?
50,000, yeah.
So does that work out to 1339 a square foot?
I don't know, I'm just asking if it sold. I'm not asking about.
Okay, I think if it sold for 50,000, I think that's 1339 a square foot. Sorry.
Okay, that's my point. Is it seems sold again, and then it even sold again in 2023 for post reference. But so it seems like it's just selling is kind of what I was getting at. Comp 4-5. Yeah, that was all the questions. Thanks.
Mr. Deitchen, would you mind repeating the other two sales that you referenced?
Oh, the last ones. Sorry.
Oh.
So comp 3, I asked if it was a city tax sale, or it is a city tax sale.
Okay,
And then 4 and 5 are sold from the city.
okay. So 3, 4, and 5, you asked the applicant if he was aware that they were city tax sales?
Right, correct.
Oh, okay, perfect, okay. Thank you. And Mr. Deitchen, no other questions?
Oh, that was all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Seelan, any questions of the applicant's evidence?
No questions at this time, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charlotte Page, again referencing your comparables. Would you happen to know what the zoning is on these comparisons at all?
I believe they're a mix of C1 and C2, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. So they were parcel use code, you got VCOM from the city's data, would that be accurate?
Correct. So,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Okay. And just to confirm, you're asking to revise the assessment per square foot down to $14 a square foot, or resulting in a revised assessment of $34,000 even.
Correct.
Okay, and this lot, I guess it looks like there's an automotive garage next door, and it looks like they use this for vehicle parking overflow, I guess, would be accurate.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And the property it's not the subject property, that's done on the income and expense.
It's done on the income approach at 780 Burrows is that neighboring site. The owner owns both them, and obviously you couldn't access this one without the other. But yeah, it's done on the income approach, and I think again, I mean, not to get too far ahead of myself, but I think principally with a lot of these lots that are owned and only have utility with that neighboring lot, there may be some merit to make the adjustment on the main roll, where the lot, wouldn't provide market value outside of the owner of that neighboring parcel. But in this case, I'm just seeking the $34,000 value to the subject property.
Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charlotte Page, any requirement for summary?
Yeah, I'll just keep it quick. I'll just say that given what Clayton had said about the one or two comps there, I'd go back and I'd say even with that second sale at about $13.39 a square foot, if you still use comparable 1 and comparable 6, you'll see that bottom end of the commercial range there floating between 13 and 16 bucks. And the subject property has limited utility, limited frontage, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes file number 24-2100. Next item on the docket is item number 5, file number 24-1589, roll number 12-0200-46300. It's addressed on Daly Street North, and we're dealing with a 20 realty assessment appeal. For the record, Mr. Charlebois Page, we're gonna have the assessor read in the evidence of the subject property, and then we'll deal with your possible comment, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Deitchen, bear with me 1 second while we pull up the brief. Mr. Deitchen, when you are ready.
Okay, it's file number 24-1589. Roll number is 1202004630. It's on Daly Street North. Roll year is 2025. Assessed values, excuse me, $47,000. It is vacant commercial, zoned C2, and it's 1,883 square feet. I guess looking ahead, it looks like the applicant's asking for confirmation. Do you want me to go through my whole evidence?
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
just, yes.
Yeah, sure. Page 2 is just the land valuation breakdown. So it is 1,883 square feet at 24.96 a square foot, bringing the value to $47,000. Page 3, you can see the subject property photos, along with page 4 and page 5, just showing the commercial zoning. So it's zoned C2. Page 6 is the land sale comparables. So again, they range from 2357 up to 5244. I would say again, the smaller ones are probably the best indication of a value for this one. Like, it's tough with a lot of these that are much bigger. This one's, I think, under 2,000 square feet. Yeah, 1,800 square feet. So the one on like Magnus, I would say Magnus and Main Street are probably two of the better ones. Continuing on to page 7 and forward is the subject or the comparable photos. And then page 17, 18 is the municipal act excerpts, and that's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Mr. Charlebois Page will deal with the assessor's evidence. Any questions on the evidence?
No, not at this time.
Mr. Whitbread, any questions on the evidence?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Quickly, Mr. Deitchen, so this is be located east of Pembina Highway, is that right? And kind of a dead-end little triangle lot here?
Yeah, right on the corner there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Charlebois Page, would you like to proceed with
Yeah,
the request?
absolutely. So I'm seeking a confirmation for this property, and I'll just put it out there during my time here is that the reason I'm seeking confirmation is this is associated parking with a neighboring income producing property. For the subject property, it is 618 Lorette is the income producing property I'm speaking of. And I know it won't be dealt with on today's call, but for the record, the assessed person, in this case, it's our position that having a full assessment to these parking parcels, and then also an income assessment at full amount without any adjustment is perhaps double assessing these lots where they're required parking or, there's no utility outside of them being associated. So again, I'm seeking confirmation today as when 618 Lorette comes up, it'll be our position that this value should be adjusted off.
Okay. So we've got a pending appeal for the adjacent property owned by the same as a subject property. Oh, okay.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Deitchen, any questions?
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Seelan, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thank you.
All right. And neither do I. That concludes item number 5, file number 24-1589. Next item on the docket is item number 6. File number 24-2464, roll number 1308-144-6000. Address is 215 Logan. And we're dealing with a 2025 realty assessment appeal. Mr. Deitchen, please wait for a second here.
Yep.
While we pull up the appropriate brief. Okay. So we're dealing with 215 Logan Avenue. When you are ready, please, Mr. Deitchen.
Okay, file number 24-2464, roll number 1308-144-6000. Address is 215 Logan. Roll year is 2025. Assessed value is $104,000. Property type is vacant commercial, zoned M for multiple use. Land area is 2126 square feet. Page 2 showing the land valuation breakdown at $48, $48.92 a square foot, and the area being 2126 brings the value to $104,000. On this page, you can see the subject property did sell in 2017 for $98,000, and we're assessed here today at $104,000. So very close to what it sold for 5-6 years ago to the reference date. Going on to page 3, it again is the subject property photos. Along with page 4, just the overhead map view of the subject. And then page 5 is the zoning, so you can see that all these properties are zoned M for the multiple use sector. Page 6 is the land sale comparables. Again, it's kind of tough to find M zone properties, so I added a few other different zoning types. But again, I would probably put the most weight on comp 1 and 2, especially 2, because that was the subject property selling for $98,000 in 2017. Heaton at least is a bit newer of a sale at $52.40. The median for all the comparables is $52.40, with the mean being $51.12. And then continuing on to page 7 forward is the land sale comparable photos and showing the different zoning for each one of those. And again, the last couple pages is the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts, and that's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Mr. Charlebois Page, any questions on the assessor's evidence presented?
I do, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So Clayton, were you aware that the owner of this site owns the property to the north at municipal address 289 King Street?
No, I did not.
So in your opinion, when a market participant owns an adjoining parcel, would they be considered a motivated purchaser?
I'm not too sure.
It is a factor considered by the Appraisal Institute for whether a sales an arm's length transaction. That's what I was. Anyway, to the best of your knowledge, was this parcel listed on the open market back in 17?
I'm not too sure.
Okay. And then are you aware that comparable number 1 on your chart was sold as part of a land assembly.
Like it was multiple roles.
Yeah, and just to further that, it's the same land assembly is relisted currently. Not speaking to that value, it's obviously post-reference listed right now, but 57 Heaton is sold as part of a land assembly. It's selling again as part of a bigger development, I believe.
Are you sure about that? Because I don't think it was, but
Yeah. Are you aware that 96 Maryland was developed into a 4-story multifamily development?
Nope.
So with the subject property being less than half the size, would you say that would limit its development potential to those type of comps?
Potentially, that's why I put most weight on comp 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
That is all your questions?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread, any questions of the assessor?
I have none, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Deitchen, I'm just trying to figure out the photos, subject property, okay. Where are we located on Logan Avenue?
It's close to King and Logan.
King and Logan, okay. Okay.
Yeah, the picture on page 4 is a little bit easier to see the
Oh, okay.
streets. Yeah.
I see, right, okay. Okay. All right, that's my only question. Thank you very much. Mr. Shabal Page, if you just wait 1 second, we'll pull up your brief, please. Regarding 215 Logan Avenue. When you're ready, sir, please.
Thank you so much. So the subject is a vacant commercial lot, square footage of 2126, zoned multiple use. It's currently being used as 5 parking stalls, monthly parking. I mentioned prior, the owner owns the north adjoining lot, which is 289 King Street. It's a warehouse. This site is monthly parking for the employees. The signage on the property sort of states monthly parking, not open to the public. The current assessment is 104,000 in the commercial class. So for my sales comparison approach, I've chosen that as my primary approach and set aside the cost and income approach. Property would sell on the sales comparison. I'm relying on the 7 sales on page 10. I do want to caveat the sale of very small commercial sites tight to the valuation date is limited. There was limited sales evidence. So I chose, to the best of my ability, I've chosen vacant commercial sites here, other similar small vacant sites, some parking, small frontage, tried to prioritize rectangular shape. Again, limited data set. So in these 7 comparables, I do note that there's a median of $42 and an average of $40.30. And I've applied the average of $40.30 a square foot. I will sort of acknowledge this is that of my 7 comparables it sort of seems that there's the haves and the have-nots, and the subject property is a site very limited in size at that 2,100 square feet. Even the smaller lots that I was able to find were, in some cases 20 or 30% larger. But I do want to say the utility of this site is quite low. It's falling in between sales 3 and 4, and my revised rate, like I said, was $40.30 a square foot for a total of $85,681, and that's rounded down to $85,000 in my reconciliation of value. That concludes my evidence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant's evidence presented?
Yeah. looking on page 10 in your comparables, I think you kind of touched on it a bit, but like comparable 1, 2, and 3 compared to the other ones, there's a big gap between those. Do you know the main reason for that?
Yeah, I think it'll be a common theme here is like, so if you'll see those sites comp 5 and 7, comp 7 is a bigger lot, right? And I kind of mentioned on it before, but I'll limit the concept of economy of scale is because when you get into these small commercial sites or small mixed use sites, small industrial sites, the development potential for a site limited to 2,000 or 3,000 square feet makes it a completely different asset from the bigger sites where you can do more, you can have mixed use, you can have different assets on it. I guess I'll touch back on limited sales availability, but truly those sites in the 1 to 3 range are those have-nots. They have lower utility, and as you go up that range, you'll see these sites are more sought after. There's more utility in development, and that's why the average of that I think took into consideration sort of that range, and then the subject property having, it's associated monthly parking to the neighboring parcel, and it's very limited in size. If it was sold separate, I don't know how much utility the site would have as a standalone.
Do you think location is taking a factor into the difference in these comparables selling prices?
For sure, they would. But with limited sales comparables in the immediate vicinity, I think I would lend, you have to pull from the city and rely on what you can.
I guess what I'm trying to get at, do you think Selkirk Street is an inferior location to the subject?
Yes, location wise, they are inferior.
Are any of your comparables zoned M for multi-use or?
No, and I tried to match them up. Sorry, not to drag on, but I tried to match them up. Sort of the current property use at the subject property, though zoned M is for 5 whatever parking spots. So the small vacant commercials, as you noted during your time, it was like there was very limited source for M zones, small parcels. So sorry, just to get that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's all the questions I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Mr. Seelan, any questions of the applicant?
No, my questions have been answered. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
No, I have done, thank you.
Okay, thank you. For the applicant, I believe you made a comment that this is used for the property owner that occupies the building next door. Is that right?
I believe it's to the north. It's 289 King Street is the
okay.
it's the municipal address. And if you want to give me 1 second, I'll just confirm that on my map view here. Yes. So directly to the north, there's a parcel that's valued at just shy of 2 million for assessment. And it's again 289 King Street. That's the owner owns that one. This is monthly parking for the employees.
Okay, and but you stated that there's signage up there for parking available?
No, sorry. It says monthly parking, as in like not day-to-day parking. It's not being It's not being advertised as day-to-day parking for the public. I'm saying the signage says it's monthly parking used for that asset, I believe.
Does that signage mean somebody in the neighborhood could rent it by the month?
To my knowledge, no.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is this a commercial parking lot that's available to, maybe limited, but available to the public possibly?
To my understanding, no. It's in relation to 289 King, but that's to my understanding, sir.
Yeah, okay. Do you have a picture of that sign? I could not find it.
Sorry. Yeah. On the street view, it says monthly parking only, others will be towed.
Okay. Could you point me to which page that is on?
Sorry, that is from the Google Street View. I don't believe it was in my brief there. With the sign specifically, sorry, I had the overhead, but I didn't have the close up of that sign.
Oh, okay.
That's if you were to street view this property at 215 Logan and zoom in on the parking sign, you would see that signage that I'm referring to.
Okay. Okay, with that in mind, Mr. Deitchen, I'm gonna ask you, has it ever been considered, I don't know if you can answer this, to make this a parking lot? Assessed as a parking lot?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not too sure if we were receiving INEs or not on this. I don't think we would have been.
Yeah, okay,
So no, I would say not.
okay. It's not assessed as that, so we're dealing with vacant,
Right.
all right, yeah, okay. All right. Okay, that's my only question. Any requirement for summary, Mr. Deitchen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Charlebois Page, any requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes 215 Logan Avenue. Next item on the docket is item number 7. File number 24-3213, roll number 1305-121-3000. Address is 538 Young Street. And we're dealing with a 2025 Realty Assessment Appeal. For the record, Mr. Deitchen, I'm going to ask you to read the property details and your assessment for 538 Young Street. And Mr. Charlebois Page, you'll have a comment after that, okay? Please proceed, Mr. Deitchen.
File number 24-3213. Poll number is 1305-121-3000. The address is 538 Young Street. Earlier is 2025, assessed values at $118,000. It's a vacant commercial property. Zone C2, and the size is 3,071 square feet. Page 2 just shows the land valuation breakdown again. It's 3,071 square feet at a rate of 38.42, brings the value to $118,000. Page 3 and 4 show the subject property photos along with the zoning of the property. And then page 5 again is the land sale comparables for the property, ranging from 34.94 to 56.90, with a mean of 49.23 and a median of 52.44. And then pages 6 and forward are just the pictures of the land sale comparables. And that's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Okay, Mr. Charlebois Page, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitbread.
I have none, thanks.
Mr. Deitchen, in your brief, are you showing this is used as a parking lot? Am I right or am I wrong there?
There might be parking. I'm not too sure exactly what it's used for. It looks like there's some cars on there.
On page 6, is that the subject property?
On page 6.
Yeah,
No, that's the comparable.
that's comparable, okay.
Yeah,
Do you have
yeah.
a subject property at all?
Sorry?
Like a street view of the subject property?
Not a street view, just the overhead view on page 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, let me find that.
Mhm.
Okay. We're just off Sargent Avenue, okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that's my only question. Mr. Charlebois Page, any comment to make?
Yes, I'm seeking a confirmation on this. This is not dissimilar to the other file I mentioned. It is our position that the parcel is associated parking for the neighboring income producing asset. For 538 Young, the associated property is 528 Sargent. It's my understanding that it's a multi-family property. And I think you nailed it, Mr. Chair, in your questions, is that this is a parking lot. It's hard to get a street view because it's sort of an alleyway down the side there on the west side of the lot there. But this is parking used for the multifamily, and it'll be our position once that comes up that the assessment from this should be reduced from the property. Obviously, if the parking income or the rents achieved at the multifamily asset are inclusive of parking, or that income's included, it'd be in a double accounting of assessment without an adjustment for the parking lot, if that makes sense.
Okay,
So
so first of all, I'm going to ask you to enter into your evidence the brief that you submitted. Did you submit a brief?
I did. It was seeking confirmation.
Okay,
Sorry,
thank you.
I don't know if I made that clear. My brief was seeking confirmation.
It's a two-page, Mr. Chair. We have that.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is, I don't know if you can answer this. Would the owner have considered merging it with the multifamily, this lot?
So I don't know. I do know, Mr. Chair, that in my history in working with owners with similar assets, there's I would say about a $3,000 to $5,000 baseline administrative fee that would come with merging those assets from like a. It's my understanding that that's sort of the legal baseline fees that you would pay to merge assets like this. So I think things that are traditionally owned like this, you'll see them. I mean, this docket's been full of various types of these. That if there's no benefit to an existing one business unit for the owner, you'll often see them left to the old way they were divided, as there's only an administrative cost in the merging of them to modernize sort of a single asset, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks for that.
No problem.
All right, Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
Mr. Charlebois Page, any requirement for summary?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good. That concludes 538 Yonge Street. Last item on the docket today is item number 8, file number 24-2155. And we're dealing with a roll number 13-060-504-000. Address is 1339 Notre Dame Avenue. And we're dealing with a 2025 Realty Assessment Appeal. Mr. Deitchen, bear with me, please. 1339 Yonge Street. Mr. Deitchen, when you are ready, please.
Mr. Chair, I believe that is 1339 Notre Dame. not
Yes.
Yonge.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. 13 Notre Dame Avenue. Thank you. When you're ready, Mr. Deitchen.
Okay. File number 24-2155. Roll number is 13060504000. The address is 1339 Notre Dame Avenue. Roll year is 2025. Assessed value is $173,000. It is a vacant commercial property. Zone C1. Land area is 4,116 square feet. Page 2 is the land valuation breakdown again. The size of the property is 4,116 square feet at a rate of 42.03, brings the value to $173,000. Page 3 is a couple overhead views of the subject property. Page 4 is a Google Street View with the overhead view as well. Page 5 is the zoning of the property, showing that it is a C1 zone property. Page 6 again is my land sale comparables. There's the one on Keewatin. I added or left it in there because it is C1 like the subject property. It is a smaller property with a higher per square foot rate, but I would put probably most weight on the two comp 1 and 2 along with 4 and 5. Comp 1 and 2 are on the same street, just down the road. They are larger again, but regardless of economies of scale and such, they are higher than what we have currently assessed. So those ones are at 4624 and 5389, and we're at 4203. Page 7 and forward again is the pictures of the land sale comparables, and that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Okay, Mr. Charlebois Page, any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
Yep, I have a couple, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So I noted that, and I guess you touched on it, Clayton, but I'll just note that a lot of the comparables you've used are larger than the subject property. Did you factor that increased development potential of those sites into your reconciliation?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. So a lot of the comps are bigger sites. Did you factor that increased development potential that those sites would have into your reconciliation?
No, but just based on economies of scale, you would think that the smaller properties would have a higher per square foot rate. But no, I didn't.
Okay. So, are you aware that comparable 835 Notre Dame has been developed into a luxury apartment with ground floor retail?
Not that I know of, I don't think.
So there is a website for the property. It's 835notredame.com. And you can sort of see it. It's a 4-story with mixed use ground floor retail and multifamily up top. So I just want that noted in comparison to the subject property. And my last question is, are you aware that sale comparable number 2, 800 Notre Dame, it appeared to be improved with a 7-story parking garage. Are you aware if that's the case?
I'm not too sure about that one either. No.
Okay. Thank you. That was my questions.
Thank you to the applicant. Mr. Whitbread, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No, I have nothing, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is, Mr. Deitchen, so this vacant lot is on the east side of it would be, I believe, a restaurant drive-in. Would that be right? On the corner of Weston Road and Notre Dame?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure. I could double check for you.
I think that's what
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I see it now. Weston Road, Weston Street, pardon me.
Yeah, Weston's right there, yeah.
Northwest corner, okay. Perfect, okay, that's my only question, thank you. Okay, Mr. The applicant, just bear with me 1 second while we find your brief, please. Okay. All right, sir, when you are ready, 1339 Notre Dame Avenue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So the subject property is a vacant commercial lot. It has a site area of 4,116 square feet, zoned C1 commercial. The site currently remains entirely vacant. It's grass covered. The current assessment is 173,000 in the commercial classification. Significant increase year over year in assessment. I'm going to set the cost approach and income approach aside, lean on the sales comparison approach, which I completed on page 11 with 5 market comparisons. I did my best to choose, like I said, vacant commercial lots with smaller frontage, rectangular shape. I do want to note, again, I did note it on the previous file, but the sales are sort of limited in that I want to like the sort of the dichotomy of commercial lots of properties that are larger with more development potential, more frontage versus these smaller grassy lots, rectangular in shape, sort of nominal in value. And I have 5 sales comparables there. I'll note the range again, sort of these small ones with limited utility in that $16, $15 range, scaling up towards that last comp there at $60. And the subject property, I feel like belongs somewhere between that range. Not quite in that high utility. It's crammed between a restaurant and a small residential home. It's a grass covered lot. And so given all that, I applied the 3078 average from my data set for a revised value of 126,699, rounded that down to 126 and my reconciliation of value. And that concludes my evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Charlebois Page. Mr. Deitchen, any, excuse me, any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, just a couple. I guess it's similar to previous file. Comparables 1 to 3 are much different in square foot or price per square foot opposed to 4 and 5. Do you think that's based on location?
Definitely one of the factors. I would say, again, it's going to be similar to the other one. I think there's like numerous ones. The utility of those bigger sites that you used is greater. I believe that the location is better on the subject property. The $30 I proposed, I tried to encapsulate both maybe superior location, but inferior to some of those larger development sites.
Okay. All the comps are like 10 plus ish minutes away. Were you able to find anything closer, or that's about it?
That is about it for comparisons, and not to get back too far into it, but sort of those two comps you identified on Notre Dame were 15,000 and 19,000 square feet. The ones getting developed into, like I said, a 4-story mixed use multifamily ground floor commercial asset. And just to clarify that one more time, is I'm with you on an economy of scales argument, but at some point these like narrow rectangular lots with small frontage, they actually lose comparability. There's no more economies of scales. Like the asset to me is just completely different at something where you could build, something of that scale versus the subject property. Like I said, crammed between the restaurant and the house, you're not getting anything close to those. So I don't even compare those two assets to the subject property. And you're right, I expanded my vicinity, but that's my reasoning behind it.
Do you know what can be built on this property in terms of, say, a multifamily, like what the limit is, or something of this size?
I would have I'm not an expert in zoning. I wouldn't know how many units you could put on there at the minimum, but just visibly, the subject property is 4,000 square feet, and those two comps are 15 and 20. So the scale, like if you wanted parking, ground floor retail, you would not have, it wouldn't be in the same ballpark. I mean, it's less than a quarter the size of basically both those. So,
but you could still build multifamily on a property like this, correct?
I believe there is a low density multifamily in the C zonings, but again, I'm not an expert on the zoning, but I believe there is a small multifamily permissible use in the C1 zoning.
Okay, thanks. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Mr. Seelan, any questions of the applicant?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Whitbread?
I have no questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions either. Deitchen, requirement for summary?
I guess just to summarize, yeah, the properties on Notre Dame for the comparables are larger, but they are very close to the subject property, and I think that's indicative of market value. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Charlebois Page?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For me, I've chosen the sales with a little more expanded vicinity, showing that scale of sort of like that dichotomy of the feast and famine of good commercial lots and non. It'd be my position that those two sites on Notre Dame are not great for comparison. A simple Google search of 835 Notre Dame would show you it's a completely different asset. And it's my position that the comps put forward and the average at $30 a square foot is the best indication of market value.
Thank you to the applicant. We have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you both for the very professional hearing. And you'll hear from us as soon as possible with our decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a
Thank
good day.
you.
Oh,
Thanks, Crystal.
just a moment, please. I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, would a 10-minute break be in order?
It certainly will.
Oh, thank you.
We're still online though, aren't we?
We are.